Hello, this is the DIY Magician, and we are here on the journey to find out how to be funny. And I'm here with...
Hi, Christopher T. Magician here. The T stands for taco. You got to do that.
Tacos, great, awesome. In fact, look at this. He's got tacos on his shirt too, with lime chasers there. Awesome.
It's a theme.
It's a theme.
I can't.
Well, Christopher, I've got a few questions. We're on our journey to find out how to be funny. And the first question is, who is your inspiration or comedy inspiration performer?
Well, I knew this question was coming. So I had a lot of time to think about it, and there's a ton of... I boiled it down to one answer, but I could name Paula Poundstone's one of my favorite comedians. I love Lewis Black's comedy. Louis C.K.'s hilarious, and those are the comedians. And then there's magicians. Gary Dunn is one of my favorite kid show magicians. David Ginn is but I'm not even gonna. I needed one answer, and you will find every funny thing I ever do in The Simpsons. That's it. I have watched every Simpsons ever. The Simpsons is my go-to-bed show.
So Matt Groening is Groening. Is that? Am I pronouncing that right? Matt Groening,
or it might be Groening.
Groening.
Like let's say you want to learn Charlie Chaplin. The Simpsons have done Charlie Chaplin. Let's say you want to learn Marx Brothers. The Simpsons have done Marx Brothers. Anything you ever want to learn. Oh, and also Mr. Bean. I love Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, yeah.
They have taken and parodied and played off of and used material that you've seen. Every comedian ever has somehow been homaged on that show. And so, like, if you want to learn comedy, my suggestion is watch every episode of The Simpsons. Maybe up until the end of season 25. Like, some people will say there's only 10 good seasons. There's 10 amazing seasons. There's 25 really good seasons. But you got to kind of get out of your head but I mean, you can learn that. That's why I think that's where I learned to be funny. The Simpsons. That's my.
And you're a youthful member of this fraternity we're going through, or not a fraternity because we have young ladies as well being interviewed. So that is a good one, and the fact that they've been on for 25 years, that is a good deal.
Sign that they probably know what they're doing.
And who knows in the future when this is viewed, it could be 30 or 40 or 50 years. You never know.
You never know.
So that's a good one. I like that because you're right. Even the MythBusters have been on The Simpsons.
And not only the appearances, but just like, I mean, just an example, Charlie Chaplin does a bit. I did not know it was Charlie Chaplin at the time, where they stick bread rolls on forks and dance.
Yeah.
They do that on The Simpsons, and then they immediately do a joke after, like, "Sir, that's parody. You got to get rid of that." But even that joke of saying it's parody, you got to get rid of it. The lawyer coming in. I mean, that's been done before. Like The Simpsons, and I don't want to say reuse, but they do reuse. But they're
more of an homage, maybe.
Homage, and just like. Throwing every bit of comedy at the wall. And it's because I loved Seinfeld growing up, but they could only do so much. Actually, you know what? This is one of my favorite Simpsons moments. Was the end. There was a Lord of the Flies takeoff, and at the end of the episode, a narrator came on and said, "And the kids stayed on the island, and eventually they were saved by, let's say Moe." Oh. That was the end of it. But that's on The Simpsons. It's a cartoon. You could do anything.
Right.
And that's why they could throw any type of comedy in. It always worked. Whereas, like, Everybody Loves Raymond, you got to kind of always stick with the Everybody Loves Raymond.
Mom and dad's coming across the street, and that's pretty much it. Or the brother.
Style that they keep to. On Golden Girls, the mom is about to say something mean, and Dorothy's going to go, "Don't say it, Ma." Like, those are the shticks. But The Simpsons, because they're cartoons, can just get everything. Yeah, and that's why I think, for me, I think it was such a big influence, because it also kind of, like I said, it introduced me to things like Charlie Chaplin's humor, Three Stooges. I mean, it was all in there, so it's sort of like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and then of course now we've got Google, so we can actually sit and watch the episode, and then Google all the references.
And you have like Wikipedia, or I'm sure there's like a Simpsonspedia or whatever, but like where it will literally. I think every episode is on. It was like Simpsons Wiki, but like, you want to know any trivia about that, and it'll be on there.
Any voiceover was on it. Yeah.
Song. They do this. They do that. Oh, this part where this guy walked across, that was an homage to the Birds, and that was Alfred Hitchcock, and it's like so you could find all that info, and nowadays we're lucky, I guess. So
The Simpsons. I like that. That's a good one.
That's people will call me on it too. They'll be like, "Hey, that joke that you wrote, I watched this and I don't mean to, but I mean, I guess I've been watching it forever. That those jokes, you know,
They're almost eminent domain. Is not. I don't know if that's the term.
yeah, but I learned. Yeah, I mean, that idea, the classics, the thing. I mean, we talked about rule of threes a few times.
Right.
It got brought up, and that's you can learn that on The Simpsons. I mean, just all of those classic bits.
As long as we don't do the Abbott and Costello who's on first.
As long as we don't do things that you can't do. But I'm sure they've done something with it. I mean, you know, absolutely. But actually, I know the Principal Skinner and Seymour, and he was like, "Who's on first?" And he said, "Yes, the man with the unlikely name of Who is on first." And they're like, "You just ruined the bit." But like,
that's a parody of a comedy of a joke. Yeah.
So it's like every type of humor you could ever learn is on The Simpsons. That's
a good answer.
Me. There you go.
I love that. Now we're going to go on. What is funny to you? And that's probably a spillover of the first question, but if you can do something else, what's funny to you?
This is a weird answer. I mean, anything. I don't necessarily discriminate against funny. Like, it could be completely ridiculous and I'll find it funny. And I just remember growing up, I loved Everybody Loves Raymond growing up. And I remember my friends in school like, "Why do you watch that? That's dumb." And I was like, I actually told me, "Well, you got to be married. You got to understand it." But like, now I watch it again and I'm like, this is a genius show. So I mean, I was right, but like, okay, I'll say what I think I'm inspired, at least in my terms of comedy, and I didn't realize this until I was involved at a theater in New York, comedy theater. So much in terms of most comedians, comedy is verbal.
Okay.
And I think because of the magic background, I find myself really drawn, most by accident. The funny ideas I come up with generally involve props.
Okay.
Even in magic, it'll be like, what could I do here? Oh, this prop, and throw it over here. And then like it's about visual humor. And somebody pointed out to me, because I also write comedy kind of theater
programs,
stuff, yeah. And somebody said, "It's so weird. All I think about is verbal, but yours is all visual humor," and it never dawned on me. And then it's because of the
Simpsons.
the Simpsons and magic background, and like the visual. If I'm going to be obsessed with comedy, the magic's there anyway, because it's been there. So that's a visual art form, and so it just came together. That's not necessarily what I find funny.
What makes you laugh? Like, is there a specific style or genre that makes you laugh?
This sounds. I personally like anything that is. And this is not everybody's cup of tea, but I like anything that's offensive. Anything that like pushes about, like Louis C.K.
Oh yes, he's very.
I mean, that's but he's a thought provoking. I like the idea of offensive as a means to make you think about something. It's offensive in a good way. It's offensive. Let me tell a race-based joke to make a point that you shouldn't be racist. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what Louis C.K. did a whole slew of homosexual, like, offensive jokes, but it was all as a means to point out that you shouldn't be like, and that's what I think I'm really drawn to. Is political humor is not really the word, but it's like. Kind of pushing the boundaries.
PC, it's un-PC, yeah.
George Carlin's seven words you can't say on that kind of idea, where it's like, it's not about he's saying dirty words. It's about
it's ridiculous that they're censoring certain words.
It's just about he's making the point, and I like that. I really like that concept of sort of teaching, not about teaching with your humor, but I think humor in general makes people think, because that's the idea of humor anyway. It changes your perspective, and so things that push you to the edge, but in a way that make you think differently. And I guess Louis C.K. is a good example of that. Lewis Black, different people that just sort of do that kind of
edgy humor.
I'm drawn to it, which is very different because I do kids magic. But
well, no, but see, that's the thing. You can take a wide range of things, and I'm going to interject for a second and utilize those things to create something even more interesting and friendly him down. Or, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, a booger joke is no different than a homophobic joke for Louis C.K. You know what I mean? Like, and for kids, you're not supposed to talk about boogers or gas or things like that. And maybe that is the kids show version of Louis C.K. You know, and there's also the kid show version of Roseanne and the kid show version. But like, you know, like, it will inspire you. Yeah, no matter how.
It's like the late Don Rickles, where you know he was at everyone. He didn't discriminate against anyone. He would go after everyone. So
I think that was Mel Brooks' line. As long as you're making fun of everybody, it's not it's not racist. You're making fun of every race. You know that idea. But
this is getting insightful. This is good. I like this. We're only on the second question too. No. This is great. I love this. Well, this is the journey we're on. We're here to find out how to be funny. Now, the questions are getting more difficult now. So this is. And
I really I sort of.
Don't jump ahead.
I planned ahead for the first one. So that one to me was hard. So that answer right there was like pure.
No, that's great. I love that.
So who knows what's going to happen?
That's right. This is the exciting part here. It's getting exciting. Now, this is the part we're going to draw on your experience as a performer. Tell me the funniest unscripted moment that has occurred in one of your performances.
This one, man.
This is a PG or less.
Well, that's not that. No, it's just that it's hard for me to remember because so many of those things end up being
part of your show.
The bit, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you one that this is one that just I kind of remembered was a joke I always did was. You know, as a magician, I often ask myself, what would Houdini be doing if he were alive today? Mm-hmm. And of course, he'd be screaming and scratching at the roof of his coffin. Like that's not even my joke.
I know.
But then I just threw out there because it got a big laugh, and I go, "You can't escape them all." And I mean, and that was a off the cuff thing. But like, for some reason, I kind of remember that. But like, now I say it every time. So it's like most of those things automatically become
in with your whole shows.
Can I kind of cheat at this question? Can I cheat a little?
If you'd like to. This is a video on how to be funny. So let's do it.
This is. I'll tell you about my favorite Broadway moment.
Okay.
From a Broadway show and how it influenced me, and it pertains to this question. There's a show called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It was a musical, and it was a spelling bee. You watch the spelling bee happen, and you learn about the characters. But one of the bits of the show, and this was on Broadway, a Broadway musical, they bring audience members up on stage, and just to flesh out, to have more people on stage for the spelling bee, you know. And so every once in a while, you'd see the main characters, and then they'd have an audience member come up, spell a word. All the audience members got really ridiculously big words that they couldn't spell. So the joke was, okay, you go back to your seats, so that we could eventually weed down to the. So I believe I'm right. Every single person was gone except for like maybe a 13-year-old child was like the last. And so it was finally time where we've learned all the main characters. We're ready to finish the show, get to the main part, so they have to get rid of the last audience member. And the girl comes up and they give this long, ridiculous word, and so she, you know, blah, ACQPL, she spells it, and the person goes, that's right. And the audience
just died?
Went nuts, because the whole joke was that here they're giving these people these words that are impossible, and then this girl comes up and just gets it right. And so
where do you go from there?
Well, so they sent her back to her seat, so she went back on stage to her place, and they go, next up is blah blah blah, and they brought the same girl up, like, and the audience
so they had an extra,
like, because, you know, and the girl, they gave her another hard word, and she got it wrong, and she goes back to her seat.
Okay.
I mean, one of the best Broadway moments ever, because like you don't see this every day. This girl, I go and I read the reviews, because I guess I saw previews, or I read the reviews when the opening night came out, and they said, and there was this amazing moment where the child on stage from the audience actually got a word right. And it was an amazing moment that will never happen again. And what a crazy that we got to see that. They did it every single night.
Oh, so was it a plant?
It wasn't a plant.
Okay.
They just go, that's right. And like,
Oh, so they could spell it wrong, and they just
you know, I mean,
interesting.
they're not gonna get a 7-year-old that completely gets it wrong, but the 14-year-old could be like, I mean, Kalukalin, if that was a word. They'd be Kooli. They could kind of, and that's right. And nobody knows what you know.
My goodness.
Because the audience is convinced that nobody ever sees this. This was a special moment that nobody gets to see, and
Yet the review said otherwise.
yeah, and
You caught him. Yeah.
and that review, I was like, they got me. They like, but to me, in my mind, that is a magic trick.
That's cool.
That is literally a trick. They convinced us that this is the most amazing moment that's ever happened, and I create those moments. And we're here at Cadabra now,
Right.
At a conference. Last year, I don't know, you might remember this. I did a trick in the gala show where
Yes, I remember.
child.
Tell me about it.
And so a little child comes up, and it's a really sweet. There's music playing. It's all about how there's magic all around, and we do this trick. I said, I'm going to give you this little present. It's inside this box. You open it up. You get to keep it for the rest of your life to remind you that magic's real for the rest of your life. You can hold on to this thing. And we have these keys, and it's a lock. It's the old keys of bald plate. There's 7 keys. He has to pick the right one. And his key, we try them all. They don't work. The key he picks, it opens it up. A round of applause. And you get to keep what's in here. And he opens the box. And there's nothing in there. And at first, and that's
The audience is like feeling like, oh, he messed up.
well, there's this where you got to understand this is a conference for kids show magicians, and magician in trouble happens all the time. So there's this tinge of he didn't mess up. There's this tinge of like, what's the deal? But then I just sort of wait, and I just sort of like, I don't know what to do. And it was like this awkward laugh, and about 10 seconds later, the audience just starts going insane. Probably the biggest laugh I've ever gotten in my life. Just going nuts because
It appeared to fail.
literally, suddenly they believe this is I screwed up.
Yeah.
And then I end up, it is all part of the bit. I pretend it's an invisible ball, or I do a floating invisible ball, and then the ball eventually appears. But I had a magician come up after. He might be watching this because I just nodded and said, yeah, because I don't want to ruin that. But he came up and said, that is the best recovery from a mistake I have ever seen. And I didn't tell him the truth because I was
Here's
just like,
the secret. Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, it was such a cool like I didn't want to ruin it but like I planned it from the beginning, and you saw the best laugh of my life. And you talked about, what was the question? I went off. It was about improvised or off the cuff.
The best unscripted moment, but this is the best scripted moment.
Scripted off, because but I'm obsessed with that idea. I mean, I can't do it all the time, but like trying to find ways of faking unscripted moments, because it is true. If you can do an unscripted moment, it's going to get a bigger laugh.
Oh yeah.
But if you can convince them that it is an unscripted moment, then you could get that same huge laugh that you usually might get by accident. So that's I've been playing with it for a while. But
No, it was priceless. I was there, and to be honest, I wasn't sure either way on that. So it was a great moment.
Incidentally, for that particular moment here, the key to making it work, which I found out in the moment, so I guess this was sort of unscripted, was, oh, they're not, this is my mindset, oh, they're not buying this. They think they think it's a bit. What am I gonna do? And then I literally did this. I go, I'm gonna just sort of smile, lower my head, and shake it. And I went, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wait. And then I think that was it. It was the fact that I kept waiting.
The Jack Benny moment.
Without knowing what to do. So I mean, I think the key, if you ever think about creating this, I think the key is waiting. I think that's really the key. But
Well, I mean, seriously, go back and watch an old episode of a Jack Benny show or what have you, or listen to the best Jack Benny was, I think, on radio, where he's being robbed, and the guy says, he points a gun at him, and he says, "Give me your money or give me your life." And there is an unbearable length of time of pure silence, and he's all, I'm thinking, so that is it. So yes,
that's great. I love that. I actually know that bit. I love that bit.
So what we're doing now, so that was, this is great. I mean, we're only on question 3, but it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder, Chris. Now here's the thing. What makes you funny? You, Christopher T. Magician, what makes you funny?
People laugh. That's it. I guess they laugh. I don't. So some people say you can learn to be funny or you can't learn. I think you can learn to be funny.
Good.
But I was always. There was no. I don't know why, and it's not like I'm sitting here saying proud. Like
No, I know.
I'm funny, but like I mean, this. I'm saying this now. This wasn't funny, but in fourth grade, I mean, blah blah blah, just like now. But blah blah blah. I was the trouble. I wasn't the troublemaker, but you couldn't get me to shut up.
Kathy or something.
I got in trouble for it all the time. And one time, my fourth grade teacher, I remember, she goes. She got so frustrated. She told me to shut up, which you don't do. Shut up! And I blah blah blah. And she said, "What about shut up? What did I tell you?" And I said, "The opposite of open down." Like out of nowhere. That's my best unscripted moment right there. But she just started laughing, like, and I didn't get in trouble. But like, so in college, I was in a playwriting class, and I wrote just the most heartbreaking, brilliant piece of theater. And we read them in class, and the class just laughed their heads off during mine. And that's when I was like, I can't help it. Like, I
Can't be serious. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly what I did wrong, but like, so I think the reason I'm drawn to comedy.
Well, no, the reason why you're funny.
I don't know. That's a hard thing to say. It just
It's wired in your system.
happens. When I perform as Christopher T. Magician. Right, I'm not actually. That's a character, just so you know. I think a lot of it, literally, I can say jokes that I would say as Christopher T. Magician, and I'll share. What do you think about this joke? Blah blah blah, and I say it just normal, and it's like, but then I'll do them on stage, and I'll be like, whoa, like I have a higher. There's sometimes it just sort of, the way my voice sounds doing it in that character kind of gets a laugh. I think that with Paula.
So maybe your voice then.
My voice, I think.
Energy.
I think I'm a stage magician, no matter where I am. And what I mean by that is like, here's a good. I auditioned for our community theater's production of, Stella.
Streetcar Named Desire.
Named Desire.
Yes.
And there's a little paper boy. That was the only role that I could possibly.
Okay.
He comes in, and it's this tense, awkward scene where she wants to kiss him, and so she's like, "I will kiss you," and I just go. Like this, like weird, and everybody.
Was that your script to do that?
No, I was just like, okay, I'm going. Oh, she's like, leave me before, and I'm like, okay. And the people audition, I mean, were like just laughing so much about it. I didn't get booked because that's not supposed to be funny. But that was my like. I think it was a very legitimate reaction in the moment. Like, what's this?
And it gives me a flashback to. Herman, Mr. P.W. Herman, you know,
yeah. So I think that's really. I think everything about me is big in real life, but then it just sort of happens. So like I use my hand, and I think big just sort of looks.
And he's big. I'm 6'7", and look at I'm not. That's 5'7".
Just how I do stuff is big, and I the voice probably adds to it. I think big. I think that's probably it.
That's good. Act big and
it just
good.
I have weird facial thing. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's good.
But now, I will say, I think the bottom line is it's because they laugh. Like that's the bottom line. I would not be standing here saying I'm funny if they didn't laugh. So yeah, that's the bottom line is that's the answer. They laugh. So there you go.
That's the best way. Seriously, if you're going to be funny, you might as well have them laugh. You know.
That's why I like comedy. Is if you're doing it right. And you can gauge
in the
it.
moment,
and you can say, okay, they didn't laugh that much in this performance. I can alter it to make the next one better. Like you can't do that with like a drama, you know. Like you're not like, oh, they didn't bawl their eyes out by the end. It must not be good. Like you can watch a drama and not bawl your eyes out. Yeah. So like that's what's nice about comedy is you can improve it.
Good or not.
Yeah. And so it's like math. You either know it or you don't. So that's why I like that's why I'm drawn to it. All right.
That's good. No, that's great. Now we're gonna get the probably the hardest question.
Right.
Okay, and this is the one that we're really holding on to for this journey of being funny. What does it take to be funny? If you were to tell something to somebody, what does it take to be funny?
I think really all of it boils down to setup punchline. And that's even visual humor, that's anything. Even when I say I have a big face, like the setup of the Streetcar Named Desire audition. It's a very tense scene. The punchline is I'm taking this tense scene and going, like, the funny isn't necessarily that I'm like, oh. The funny is that it's not supposed to be that, and then that's what setup punchline is. The juxtaposition. It's you lead the audience one way, that's a setup, and then you go the other way. I mean, that's the basic. And I don't think.
Do that again. I'm sorry. We'll go one way. And
One
then
way.
go. Whoop, there we go.
There we go. Well, that was fun. I think any joke, anything you ever tell me, a pun, I don't care what, you could give me a 20-minute Garrison Keeler Prairie Home Companion monologue.
Yeah.
There is still a setup and punchline.
Yes.
Like everything.
Might take 20 minutes to get there, but
Yes, and like to me that is what. Again, it goes. That's why I'm drawn to it. It's the math of it. You can. What was the question?
What does it take to be funny?
And I think that's it. I don't care what you do. I mean, a breakaway wand. This is a setup. Here it is. I hand it to you. It breaks. That's the punchline. Like that. Anything you do is just about how does the world work? How do you think about things? And then, how do you think about it different? Like that's it. I guess I'll give you a joke that I did once. I wrote a joke about. I heard this on a commercial once. It was like, well, $1 a day, $1 can feed a child for life. It was one of those commercials, and so okay, that's what you think. And then it's our job, and this is why I love comedy. Is I've been into brain teasers, mind puzzles my entire life. Comedy's just a brain teaser. It's just figuring out, here's the way you think. Okay, $1 a day can feed a child for life. And then the comedian goes, well, what does that mean? What's the next step? Where does that take us? And I thought, $1 can feed a child for life if the child only lives a couple days. Like, and that's what that tells me. So like that's the setup and punchline, and that's everything is that in comedy. And so that's to me, that's what it takes to be funny. It's kind of hard for me to stand here and give examples of that with physical actions, but I mean, I seriously think everything we do in even a magic show or anything is
setup
is a setup and punchline. Yeah. I wish I could give an example right now. What do I do in my shows? Okay, so in my show, you know this, I pull out rubber chickens throughout.
Yes.
And I just tell the kids anytime they see a chicken, shout chicken. But when I go for a bag, and there's nothing in this bag, that's the setup. I pull out the chicken, the kids shout, but I mean, it's the stupidest thing, but parents laugh at this every time a chicken comes out. But that's a setup and a punchline. And even though it doesn't really seem like a joke,
right,
like a setup punchline, there's nothing in this bag. Let me check if there's anything in this bag.
And they're waiting for it.
And yeah, and there it is. So it's this setup and punchline. And I could probably actually do an even bigger. There's nothing in this bag. I do this sometimes, but there's nothing in this bag, and they're waiting for a chicken, and then something else comes out, like is another. So I could play off the setup punchline that I already, but doing another punchline.
Right,
but you know,
punchline.
but like yeah, anything is just a setup of punchline. And what I guess that really means is think about things in a normal way. That's a good. Think about things in a normal way. Think about things in a normal way, because I'll give you an example. We're talking right here. Let's say you say, "Hello, good sir."
Hello, good sir.
And then I say, "Oh, hello." Now a normal audience member sits there and goes, "Oh." That's what I would say in that moment. Okay? But now what a job of a comedian is to go, okay, if my line, you say, "Oh, hello, good sir."
Hello, good sir.
My line is, "Oh, well, hello." I need to figure out how to say, "Oh, well, hello," in a way that they wouldn't say it. Mm-hmm. It might convey the same thing, but they wouldn't say it. So you think like a normal person, and then you go, "Oh, how would a not normal person think?" So, and I can't make up a joke on.
Good day, my sir, or something.
Say,
yeah.
"Hello, good sir."
Hello, good sir.
I say, what's up? I don't, you know what I mean? I don't, but yeah. So
Because it's not your appearance, you would not expect you to say, "What's up?"
yeah, and it's like, and the audience sitting there would be like, oh, if I was in the scene, he says hello, good sir, I'd say hello, good sir, or, you know. So for them to be like, by the way, comedy is about surprise, and so when they're expecting me to come back with the way they would think, and it's not the way they would think, then that's the surprise, and that's where the laugh comes. So
setup and punchline.
I mean, everything is set up and punchline. Yeah.
Excellent. And we heard it here, and we're on the journey. We're continuing. We're gonna look forward to something exciting in a future episode. But again, this is the DIY Magician with Christopher T. Magician, and I want to say, if you are a performer or interested in becoming a performer, there is a Facebook group that you can join, and that is,
it's called Let's Taco. TACO, taco, about it, and it's anybody who's interested in being a performer can join it, but especially if you're a children's magician, a magician who performs for children. I provide all sorts of videos and resources and things that just whenever I get an idea, I put it out there because I like to share. So yeah,
and silly bits of business and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're interested in maybe something very interesting, maybe you can ask him to knit you a magic wand scarf.
I could very well do that.
They're awesome. Anyway, that's just something that we'll see. So, anyways, again, this is the DIY Magician with Christopher T. Magician, and we'll see you next time on How to Be Funny.
So should I pause?
There you go. If you enjoyed that video on How to Be Funny, then you can go to the YouTube channel called The DIY Magician and sign up for further funny videos. If you want to follow The DIY Magician, you can go to Facebook, and the Facebook page or group is The DIY Magician. Now, if you are a professional entertainer, we have a special page just for you called DIY Magic Facebook group. So come on along and join the journey on How to Be Funny. This is the DIY Magician. Until next time.